So, okay.
All right. No worries. So my name's Rob. I'm with Universal Technical Institute, MIT College of Technology. Sarah's correct. We did merge recently in 2021. UTI is kind of taken some of our programs. We've taken kind of some of theirs, and then we're only looking to expand. So one day we will be just UTI Canton, but for branding purposes, reasons of which you probably don't care. We're kind of staying the same way, MIT for now. My background is in education. I graduated from Oakland with an elementary ed degree. I was certified in math and science. I taught middle school math and science for 7 years, charter school in Southfield for 2 years. I was downriver for a year, and then finished my tenure in Romeo schools. From there, I went into the trades. I was a manager with one of the larger scrap metal companies locally here in Metro Detroit. We have they had like 11 yards. From Pontiac down to downriver, and then kind of across as well in the city. Went into recruiting from there, and then really the entire time I was gone from that, I really missed the interactions with students. So this gave me an opportunity to kind of scratch that itch. You know, talking to like my social peers, right, and saying, hey, I've got a passion and impacting student lives. Probably doesn't make as much sense to them, but I know the friends and the people that I know in education, that's important to know. Kind of what we do is, and what I'll show you is a little bit about kind of what we have set up for a high school presentation. We find that those to be a lot more impactful than the career and college fairs, which we do definitely want to attend. But a lot of the times the students that are interested in our program are not necessarily the ones that are, gung-ho about being at school. So getting them there a second time in a day can be tough on like a college fair day. So anytime we have that opportunity to present directly to the students, that's something that we covet, which is probably part of the reason why I wanted to reach out to you as a counselor to maybe try to capture any undecided seniors, get in front of some juniors ahead of time, and then work with you to capitalize on a population that may or may not be exploring post-secondary options. So I definitely kind of want to go through that presentation a little bit. It's going to highlight our programs, but on top of that, I think the stigma with for-profit schools sometimes is, hey, it's for the money, it's not for the student. And part of the reason why our team is formed the way that it is because, with former educators, we're led by a former educator. It's the students that are the most important to us. We're not looking for people to start just to check a box, right? We want students to graduate, go into that passion, that career that they have, and have a long, fruitful, happy, successful life, right? And there's a lot of ways to that, and that's kind of what that presentation's about. So I'll share my screen in a second, but the decision for post high school is probably one of the biggest ones that a high school student's going to make, outside of some like crazy circumstances or unfortunate events that might have happened in their lives, right? This part is kind of their biggest decision. And even for those that are not necessarily looking into the trades or have thought about it, right? Anytime you want to make a decision, it's important to look at all the options, even the ones that you aren't necessarily interested in too. So that's kind of my catch with that piece, or my point with it is hey, I understand this isn't for everyone. I'll never tell a high school student like, hey, this isn't for you, because they instantly stop listening right at that point. But what I do say is kind of my wins are doing one of two things: either adding on that list, so like, oh, hey, I didn't know somebody could get paid to do this, or like, I like doing this aspect. I wonder, how much that translates to this career. So adding some potential stuff to the list, and then on the opposite side, right, kind of going, nope, not for me, not don't want to do that, not interested in that world. So again, as long as I can kind of make them aware of what these careers are, yeah, and kind of add to the list of, hey, this might be something for me, or it's definitely not for me, right? That's kind of what my goal is anytime I'm in front of students to present. But yeah, so I'll kind of take this over. It'll be a little bit of fourth wall breaks with this, because I want to kind of make sure you understand what the message is for me behind this. But I found that this is kind of very effective. A lot of students will give me back feedback of like, hey, I hadn't even heard of trade school, wasn't really sure what it was. Even the ones that are sitting in CTE classes, or sometimes like, oh, I guess I didn't realize I could kind of take this. I thought I had to go right to a dealership or right into the workforce. So Uh, what we always kind of start with is making sure the students know that this is about them first and foremost. Right? It's not necessarily about trade school, but it's about finding a passion and a career there, making sure that students know, hey, if you find something you love to do, you'll never work a day in your life. Make your vocation a vacation. That's kind of what we say, in terms of a beginner, right? Our goal is to either open your eyes to something or confirm that this is not what you want to do with that time being. Um, we kind of mentioned in terms of what their life looks like right now. A lot of the times their schedule's pretty much set, right? In between 7 and 2:30 or whatever those school hours are. Those are accounted for within that time. If they're in an after school program, um, like a sport or a club or drama, music, whatever it might be, that might be allotting for sometimes they have a part-time job that's probably being scheduled for them. But pretty soon, after high school ends, right, no one's doing that scheduling for them. Their schedule's kind of wide open. So what are they going to do to fill that time? What's that career look like? And then we don't get too much into goal setting, but we talk about location in terms of, hey, what's that house want to look like? What's the car that you want to go into? Are you owning that house? Are you renting it? Do you have roommates? So that students can kind of picture what that life is, where they want it to go, and what they want to do with it. We use the tape measure metaphor, right? Trade school tool, tape measure, kind of the pun all there, to kind of make sure that students start to look and recognize, hey, where are they at right now in life, and where are they going to? Uh, they're in the kind of career planning stage of life. They're in school mode. It's very easy to stay in school mode. What kind of happens afterwards? You already know, right? Life, all the life stuff happens. Bills, spouses, kids, all those things that, jobs that are going to kind of get in the way of getting back into school mode and kind of following that through. Um, we kind of break this down. The way I break this down is at least telling students like, hey, minimum wage, and that's what this number is it national average of minimum wage. But minimum wage is what society deems your worth without education and experience, right? So if students are looking to make more than what they see on the screen, well, hey, what's the best way to do that is by either getting experience in a field or educating yourself to earn that more. We do break down a little bit of cost of living to kind of take a look at that. Hey, how's that impact you, right? If I'm only making $27,000 after 6 or 7 months in New York City, someone's knocking on my door and telling me to leave. So again, how do they picture that in their future? We break down what costs might be there. I've had students do as much as like take a picture of this and kind of fill that out and just kind of be like play with the numbers as a way for them to kind of think, okay, hey, what do I need to have my life to be satisfied? But it's all in opportunities to, again, about them, make sure that they know what careers are out there. These are 4-year jobs. I'm sorry, or jobs that do not require a 4-year degree. We always try to address a couple things with it, right? One being, these aren't backbreaking jobs like they used to be. Technology has evolved these jobs where, we can rely on technology at hand to do a lot of the like literal heavy lifting instead of having to take apart a car engine, right? We can just plug in a diagnostic tool. It's going to read us the codes that are wrong. Gone are the days of having to drive around the car and listen to it or pull it apart. We can find what's wrong with it. Instead, we can kind of use the digital aspect to be in there. We always mention too with this, right? These are jobs that the rate at which people are leaving versus the rate of people that are going in is creating a void, right? So there's tons of opportunity within this to be able to find, happy, healthy lives, make money right away, make good money within it. And then we try to, we try to remove the stigma that, this is just like dirty, dingy for the uneducated. No, these are jobs for people that are hands-on, are like seeing a finished product, takes a sense of pride in seeing something start and then finish, and then, being able to do it. And then these are all essential, right? Just about anything that's in the room that you're probably sitting in, aside from yourself, at some point was on a truck that was run on diesel, right? So that's important to just about any manufacturer or any aspect of kind of commerce, right? We need those trucks to be able to stay on the road. So why do we need diesel technicians? HVAC people, right? You wanted a professional to work on those things, whether it's in your house or at the place of work. Keep those keep the students cold in the school, keep them warm in the summer, in the wintertime, right? That's all done by professionals. These aren't people that are just kind of falling off of the street to do these things, right? They're working on these things. They've learned how to do it, and they're prideful about it. We always go through these different options, right? What I tell students with the 4-year degree is, hey, where's that plus come from? Well, right, if I'm taking the bare minimum 12 credits, like, and I'm not taking spring semesters, it's probably going to take me a little longer than 4 years, right? Military, noble option, but see if you can kind of get into a career pathway. The on-the-job training kind of is one of our bigger competitors. Students are like the appeal of being able to get paid right away. What we always say is the one thing that some apprenticeships will do, or what some companies will do, is kind of either train you enough so that you can't leave, because the fear is if they train you too much, you might find another job that does the parts of the field that you like, making more money, right? So companies kind of get themselves in a catch-22 of either train you enough to have you useful there, so train and you can't leave, or don't train and risk the fear of you leaving kind of at some points, right? So community college, especially locally here, the stuff that MCC does, the credits that can be earned, it's really a good opportunity. I always make sure students know, like, don't use this as a default. Don't do the thing where you're like, someone told me to go to school, so I don't really know what I want to do or what I want to figure out. So I'm just going to kind of take some classes at the community college. A lot of times those students end up fizzling out and right, restart that shot clock, so to speak, or find themselves back on that tape measure, not where they want to be. Our focus is, I kind of use the acronym CHASE. Again, kind of a peek behind the curtain. You won't hear me say this in the classroom, but it's career focus, right? We don't teach Shakespeare. We don't do poetry. There's no intro to Latin America or anything like that. It's only classes that are going to help teach the job in a hands-on environment that's accelerated 7 to 24 months, with the average classes kind of falling between that 9 and 12-month mark. We're student-centered, where we're going to help you on the front end with financial aid once you're enrolled, meeting with our financial aid team to be able to plan out how school looks for you. We do FAFSA Zooms where students are working with the financial aid team to understand what that FAFSA piece is, make sure it's sent to the right people. While students are in school, we have tutoring both in the hands-on lab area and the classroom work. And then everything we do is employer driven, right? We're working with employer partners that are telling us what they need their technicians to be able to do when they start. We teach them, and then in return, they have an educated work staff to be there. But that's kind of the focus of trade school in general, right? Career focused, hands-on, accelerated, student-centered, and then employer-driven. That's a little bit of our differentiation too with us, is that employer piece. But I love this screen. This is one that I kind of wish I could send to just about every counselor, but between 2020 and 2030, the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics suggests that 60% of new jobs are going to be ones that don't require a bachelor's, associate's, or graduate degree. So I'm not saying, like, this isn't like, I don't want you to be like, man, I'm not doing a good job at being a high school counselor if I'm only pushing the bachelor's degree. No, sometimes, at least when I was going to high school, bachelor's or bust, that was kind of the mentality. Someone needed to do it. And it's part of the reason why schools like us are blowing up, are because we're starting to recognize that, hey, we don't have enough people doing these essential jobs that we have in our society. So there is good opportunity, obviously both through, something that we might be able to do and help a student, or through that apprenticeship, or through that community college that's going to push students in that right direction. But 60% of the jobs aren't recognized or aren't needed. Sorry, do not need those kind of requirements. So if all we're telling students are to get that, we want to make sure that we're servicing the entire student population. Are there jobs that need it? Absolutely, right? Doctors, lawyers, what these are, teachers, engineers, nurses, accountants, they're going to have to do that 4-year pathway. But that's not the only jobs that are out there. We're not the only ones that are hiring. but yeah, that's always kind of an eye-opening one to students, and I know I can see the teachers when I'm in the classrooms look at it too. Here's another one that I like sharing, and there's definitely some variables within this, but 5 out of 10 jobs, 5 out of 10 recent college grads um, are either unemployed or working in a job that didn't require a degree in the first place, right? So that you can kind of see where that came from. And again, right, there's some variables that are in there. Um, did what was that degree in? Usually is the biggest variable, right? Don't know too many companies that are hiring the underwater basket weavers, right? So if that's what the degree's in, hopefully that student knew when they started looking like, hey, maybe there's only one company in the state that hires these people, or maybe there's only one of these jobs per company, and I'm gonna have to wait for someone to quit, get fired, or retire or die before I can kind of get into that company doing it. So again, 60% of the jobs aren't going to require a degree, and then 5 out of 10 of graduates that do receive that degrees often are unemployed or work in a job that doesn't require it. So there are other pathways to be successful. The 4-year degree doesn't guarantee success, and not getting one doesn't guarantee failure, right? So as long as students have that understanding that there are some options that are open outside of that, that's kind of it. So we talk a little bit about the opportunities. I'm going to breeze by these two. So specifically about us, that's kind of what I'll kind of take over from here. We kind of break it into 3 sections: transportation, anything that flies, drives, or floats, including the only school that is accredited with NASCAR. Skilled trades, we have a CNC program, an HVAC program, industrial maintenance, non-destructive testing is the NDT, robotics and automation, welding, and then in the energy sector, both the traditional energy and the wind energy as well are our programs there. You can kind of see that we're located across the country. Right now, the one piece that I always point out is for students that are super interested in that automotive, most locally here in the Midwest is Lisle, Illinois, just outside of Chicago. All of our campuses are in major cities, but they're in the suburbs, right? So they are safe places. Our school locally here in Metro Detroit's in Canton. Talk more about where that is in a second. I mentioned the industry relationships, right? The employer partners. These are ways for students to kind of hit the ground running once they're in the spot. So, for our automotive course is 12 months, and students can add on like a 3-month that's specific to that manufacturer. Some of these are paid by the manufacturer, like through an application process. They would kind of mention their interest, interview with that instructor, and then that manufacturer helps pay for it. Like our Porsche program and our Mercedes-Benz does that. A couple of the other ones do as well. But it does kind of give some students like the credentials underneath, because what happens when they're in the field, right? Employers don't want to necessarily pay for the credentials, can't afford to have you out of the garage for that amount of time, and the cars start to stack up, right? Time is money kind of thing. So going in with the credentials makes you a little bit more qualified, a little bit more certified to be able to work right away. It's not just an automotive. Our Canton building does have a Spirit classroom that was sponsored and donated by, had some equipment donated from Spirit. So again, it's in all the industries that we work with these employer partners in. But yeah, here's our Canton campus right off of 275 at Haggerty and Michigan Avenue, where the exit past IKEA. If you've ever been out there, we offer locally the airframe and power plant, and then the aviation maintenance. I'll explain what the difference are within those. Energy, which is a combination of the industrial maintenance and wind power programs. HVAC, I mentioned again, robotics and automation, and then welding as well is offered locally. And then the Lisle campus has the auto and diesel, and then some of the manufacturer training as well. Here's our program. So this is going to kind of I'll kind of make sure I mention everything about these, or as much as I can about these programs, and highlight a little bit about what I tell students with it. So the 12-month automotive program, I always ask students to kind of like visualize themselves. If they're graduating in June and they start in July, the following July, they're done with school, skill set underneath their belt, ready to enter the workforce, right? Their friends that went away to 4-year school are home for the first time for summer, and they still have 3 more years at least to finish up. But automotive program, it's encompassing bumper to bumper. It's not just draining fluids. It's not just rotating tires, right? Students are working on suspensions, brakes, transmissions, the different systems that are within it. The highlight is the 3-month power and performance. So if you see that kid out in the parking lot and he's revving the engine and making it loud and squealing the tires, send him to me. That's the one I want to talk to about this program. But no, so the power and performance piece is what's exciting. Students are stripping an engine, putting it on a chassis that's run on a dyno like a treadmill for a car, and then they are able to kind of experience with nitrous oxide to really get it loud, really get it moving fast. Again, in a field that's needed, there's 185 million vehicles in the United States. Every single one of them is going to need at least an oil change or tire rotated, right? So plenty of opportunities within that world. Diesel technology, again, it's working with the, similar to the automotive, a little bit shorter because it's focusing on diesel. These students aren't just working kind of for like the Penske's and the different trucking companies. Like I mentioned, tons of, your bus depot at your school district probably has some diesel mechanics there working on the buses. Students are working in like construction field, keeping equipment, heavy machinery equipment up and going. Again, only 11 months with this program, similar to the automotive, but it is focused just on the diesel side. Because there are such an overlap in the auto and diesel, we do have like a combination program that's only 18 months. Again, we're talking about a year and a half after graduation. Now a student has 2 skill sets under their belt, ready to enter the workforce in a coveted spot. Imagine a dealership knowing that, hey, we can send just about any vehicle that rolls into this guy because he knows how to work on both auto and diesel. So again, 18-month course gives them the entirety of both the auto and the diesel programs in that accelerated timeline. This was one that is local here to us, the Canton campus. It is kind of what we were founded on. We started as a aviation school, aviation maintenance school, and then kind of as the industry needed more trades to be taught, we kind of added to it. But there are physical planes in the campus. What I always encourage the teachers that I work with are like, hey, let's do a high school presentation and then let me come in and give a tour of the campus. But this is a picture I took the other weekend. Right. If we're going to teach students how to work on planes, they better have planes to work on, right? We're not working on models. If the students are going to work on a jet engine, then I hope they have jet engines here. So I always like kind of showing that picture, just so students, so you can kind of understand what that hands-on side looks like. But physical planes for students to work on. There's a helicopter that's not in there. The planes come from the public sector. They come from the private sector. If there is somebody who is in their life saying, hey, you need to make sure you get a degree, it's a 20-month program for a certification, which we will help and help pay for the FAA licensure, which you need to work on planes in the United States. It's good across the country. But for a 4-month extension, which is just online gen ed courses, students can earn an associate. So again, I know we talked a little bit about like, hey, 60% of the jobs, but a lot of times students are looking to advance their careers, right? Maybe move up from worker bee to the next level. And the paperwork that's provided as a degree is sometimes what'll help there. So we do have programs that can earn degrees. I'll highlight those as we kind of come across them. But same program as this. The only difference is the 4-month extension of online gen ed courses that students can take to earn an associate's. This motorcycle one in power sports. I've got a kid in my neighborhood that like rips around a go-kart every day. I'm going to try to flag him down and get him a program sometime. But these are out of Orlando and Phoenix. It's a 12-month program. It's 6 months base, and then there's 2 3-month. Sometimes they're 4 months, which is why that month is kind of varying at the top there. That are specific to the manufacturer, right? So 6 months learning all about dirt bikes, motorcycles, ATVs, 4-wheelers, the systems that are within it, and then they spend 2 3-month segments like focusing on a manufacturer, like a Harley Davidson or Kawasaki, Honda. Again, giving students credentials in that field where they can kind of go and find those dealers when they're on the outside to work with them. Our marine, right? Anything that flies, drives, or floats. So this kind of covers the float part. similar concept. The need for this, right? If any of you have boats or know people that have boats, right, when they're pulling it out, especially in Michigan and in the fall time, a lot of times they're like scheduling their spring maintenance that same day, because if they call in the springtime, right, there's a backlog of work, not enough people that are doing this. But again, down in Orlando, MMI is that Marines Mechanic Institute. It all falls under the same umbrella, but there's also the Motorcycle MMI Institute as well. Same school, same umbrella. It's still part of us. I remember like the Saturday morning cartoons and or Saturday morning commercials that would come on with these two programs specifically. You might remember that as well. This school, the NASCAR schools out of Mooresville, North Carolina. Actually, my in-laws live there. I used to drive past it on the way to Chick-fil-A, like every time we visited in summer. I never knew what it was until I started working and connected the dots here. But this is the reason why it's in Mooresville is that if we were to draw a circle around that campus, just about every major power sports team either has a garage or a headquarters within like a 15-mile radius of this campus. So they don't have to look far for people to be able to come into their spot. So it's very much the speed and the racing performance piece of automotive maintenance. Students not only kind of graduate into pit crews, but they also join like NHRA, some of the circuit series, F1, IndyCar, Monster Jam, anything that kind of takes that performance piece of automotive, and students that want to kind of live in that lifestyle have that opportunity with us. The collision repair, it's in Houston and Long Beach, California. Even if you go to a dealership that's around your house, you're going to see that a lot of the times the service center and the collision center are two different buildings, right? So we have them as two different courses. Students get what's called ICAR certified. It's like a collision repair certification within it. Again, it's something where for the right student, this is what they're looking to do. 12 months. I like kind of the estimating piece. I like the creative piece of being able to kind of do the paint with it. I like learning the welding techniques. So it kind of rounds them out instead of just teaching about the systems of the vehicle, teach about the body of the vehicle as well. This is a course that we offer locally. If you have a welding program at your school or you send them to a CT spot, right, this is definitely something, if they like doing that, this is going to take their skills and kind of really grow them exponentially. I should mention all of our programs are, beginner friendly. We expect students to come in with no knowledge, right, a blank slate, and then those that do have some experience under the belt are only going to kind of grow on that experience. But I bring that up with this one because students do start off with like a virtual trainer, virtual welder on that. There's about 3 weeks worth of it before they move on to kind of the next stuff. It's a safety piece, right? You need to make sure students know how to use these tools safely before, feet to the fire, literally. Although you're not welding right if the fire's near your feet. It's a 9-month course. Our courses are, 6 hours a day, 4 days a week. So 24 hours a week for 9 months, they're going to be welding. They become very good. And again, this is a lifestyle that students can make very good money in. When I left and was running the scrapyard, I had welders that reported up to me. Man, they were choosing their hours. They're making really good money. They had the lifestyle that was kind of very envious to be able to say, hey, they got to punch out and leave, and I had to deal with all the headaches still. So very, very lucrative lifestyle on this. And again, it's something where it's going to take that skill set and really explode it and push them ready to make good money. Our robotics and automation, we have 2 different courses. Again, the 18-month one is one that you can earn an associate's degree. So even comparing that to like the community college, this is definitely an accelerated course. Any of your students, if you have like a computer CTE course, like a web program design, they might take interest in this. A lot of the times these people have a toolbox and a laptop right next to them, right? As much as they're doing physically with their hands, they're also having to connect to those robots to make sure that they're going the right way. There's a lot of coding involved with the PLC, the programmable logic controllers. And so that, for that reason, I mentioned that computer piece too. A lot of the times the kids that are in the robotics clubs might have that passion to be kind of be like a robotics engineer. But if they're open to kind of like, hey, I like the hands-on piece more so than I like the planning piece and the theorizing piece, this is definitely a course way through them. Again, 18 months to an associate's degree, 12 months for a certificate as well. Our CNC is in Carolina. It's a 9-month program. Haven't sent a whole ton of students locally for that, but this is one that we're expecting to be expanded to other campuses because of the need. I always kind of mention with this, like I'm at 28 in Mound. I live in Romeo, but when I drive on 23 mile to kind of make the cuts across the city, tons of like machinists needed. So this is obviously something where I make sure students know, hey, this is a course or a pathway that you could take too, if you like that hands-on and the IT side of things too. Non-destructive testing. This is right now just in Houston, but it's essentially checking for materials to make sure they're good for consumer safety. Students use like dyes to check out I-beam, see if there's imperfection. You can see the ultrasound that the dude's using here in the picture. X-ray is another one that they use as well. So again, trying to see if there's any imperfections in materials before building through with them. Again, right now in Houston, they expect to expand that one too further. Our industrial maintenance is one that we offer locally as well. This is what I call it the catch-all, but really an awesome opportunity to become like a millwright. All right. So in manufacturing settings, a machine's running, that machine goes down. There's usually a group of individuals that are coming by trying to figure out, hey, what's wrong with it? If it's an electrical problem, well, we teach them energy and electrical pieces with it. If it's potentially like an arm supposed to be lifting on this machine and it's not lifting, well, is it a hydraulic problem? We teach that piece. There's welding involved with this. There's diesel with it. So when students come to me and say, hey, I'm looking to become an electrician, don't necessarily want to go down the journeyman apprenticeship path, this is usually where I'm pointing them because they will get that electrical foundation with it. But on top of that, they'll have the welding, the diesel, and the hydraulic piece as well. So really makes them a well-rounded, hands-on individual to be able to enter the workforce. Maintenance is kind of something that people always need, either preventative or when it's too late. Our wind power, I always highlight with this one, 7 months. It's our quickest program. Students can kind of start and get right into the field pretty quickly here, usually before their friends come home for spring break, if they went to 4-year school. I always make sure students know about this. Like it's a little bit of a traveling lifestyle, right? We don't have a ton of these down the road. So it's, hey, Sunday night or Monday morning, we're going to mid-Michigan, we're going to Ohio, we're going to Illinois. We're either going to service the ones there or we'll work to take it apart and send it back to the shop, and then we'll come back out and put it back up. So a little bit of a traveling lifestyle while students are young and potentially still getting free rent from mom or dad, right? Really good lifestyle to be able to kind of travel, see some spots, make good money, and don't have to worry about your rent being wasted because you're on the road or whatever. Combination of the industrial maintenance and the wind is this energy program. Again, it gives you a associates in applied sciences. So combination of the two programs. Again, student comes to me and says they want to be an electrician. I can explain to them the value of one, earning that associate's degree and then adding the other skill sets to them. And then our HVAC program, it's off of a live gas line. So it's not trainers units. It's not pilot lights that students are working on. No, because when they're in the field, they're going to have live gas. We might as well teach them how to use that here. If you see the rows, I don't have a great picture of them, but the rows are of like different AC units that you would see both home and residential. Same thing on the heating side, same side with the water heaters. The refrigeration piece helps round them out because a lot of times, these HVAC companies are covering that too, right? They keep things cool as well. And there's a lot of similarities in the technology there. So 9-month program when students kind of tell me like, hey, one day I want to own my own business. I've mentioned to them, hey, you work 2 or 3 years in the HVAC world for a company, you're going to pick up just about every call, residential, home, heating, cooling, venting, refrigeration. Take that experience, save some money for a van, put your name on it, right? And then you could be working for yourself 4 or 5 years down the road after 9 months of school. What I also want to explain too is our process, what we do. And we do have, it's worth mentioning, we do have scholarships and grants available. We do accept FAFSA for students, right? We have the financial aid team that's going to help. But what we do is in terms of like getting students enrolled, if it will let me, here we go. Is generally in these high school presentations, we have a QR code that students can submit their interest level to. It really helps out if the teachers are like, hey, your participation grade is based on, your name showing up in the report that I get based on doing this. But my end game is to set up a time with the student and their parent or guardian, either via Zoom or on campus, to kind of talk about the career, make sure they're a fit for us and we're a fit for them and what they want to do, and then help them get enrolled from there. So there is a little of that direct communication between myself and the student, hoping to capture the attention of the parent, sit them down, make sure that it's a plan for them. They can accept the financial kind of responsibilities that are with this, and help them see the light and the importance of what we need here in there. I know I went fast. I wanted to cover at least a little bit of that high school presentation. So if you are getting emails from your teachers and they're like, hey, this guy, Rob, I've never met him. He's blowing up my inbox talking about wanting to come in. Can you deal with them? You can talk to your teachers and just say, hey, that high school presentation is a big part of explaining the different career options that are out there. And two, I wanted to cover our programs as well to give you an idea of that accelerated timeline, the hands-on feature. We have some videos that are shown within that presentation that I didn't, choose to show here, but you can see the students doing the hands-on work. For those students that aren't looking to necessarily, have the same mundane lifestyle, go to the same cube every day, sit behind a computer screen. If they are not looking to do that, we potentially have a career or pathway that can help them out. And we try to do everything we can to support them, right? To get them to that starting line. I tell students when they start working with me, like, hey, I'm going to check in on you. I'll be working with you as you get enrolled. If we meet them in the fall, right, I'm talking to them throughout the school year. Hey, how'd that wrestling season go? What are you doing? What's the plans for spring break? That kind of thing. Because once they're enrolled, we want to make sure that relationship's there. If they're having any issues with the school, they have someone that they trust, they know that they can come by. Which is why I told you I started my career in education and came back into a role like this, because it gave me the opportunity to impact student lives. Right, I covet all the relationships that I have with students. I've seen some of them since I've been back. The students that were in my classroom, and it's a humbling feeling to see them again and see them grown up and be like, man, I might be able to still help them out here, even though I hadn't had that chance to work with them since I was, they were in my classroom as middle school science students. But try to cover a lot there. Try to do it in a little bit of time. So I apologize if I was rushing or it felt like it was rushed, but I want to be able to answer any questions too that you might have about our school or trade school or the industry in general, if there are any.
I'm going to jump in first, Rob. Thank you. That was really great information. And yeah, your program is, well, specifically MIAT, because how you guys are located in Canton, there isn't a strong presence in Macomb County, which is ironic because we have Air National Guard base in our neighborhood, a lot of aviation and marine as well, but there just don't seem to be those programs for our students. So what do students do, because your campuses all offer something different across the country. So where does a Michigan student go and live when they want to take one of those short-term programs out of state?
Good question. Yeah, we do have housing services for students and local and out-of-state students as well. It's a cost separate to tuition, and they are fully furnished apartments. They are usually with not directly on campus, so they'll still need some sort of transportation to be able to get them from the housing to the campus from there.
Mm-hmm.
But like I mentioned, they're fully furnished, and then students are only liable for the time that they're at school, right? So, and they're only responsible for their own rent, right? So I don't know if you remember, like when you were an undergrad, my roommate dropped out, and now all of a sudden I have to sublet this room, and I got to find something. Well, there's none of that, right? You're only due for what you're owed, right? Your room, your setup. and then they kind of come fully furnished, like I mentioned. And yeah, that's the other appeal is that, hey, you only know what you have to. So did that make sense? Did I kind of answer that piece?
Yeah, yeah, because the students, like you said, some of those programs are less than a year
Yeah,
out of state and
yeah.
sign year leases and those types of things.
Right.
So
So yeah, if it's 9-month program, they're only there for the 9 months. They're only paying for that 9 month too, which is nice. So, and they
okay.
try to room them with somebody else that's either in a program or at least, around the same time kind of thing, time frame.
And then the class schedule. So a lot of trade schools that we've worked with, their classes actually run in the evenings so that students can work.
Yep.
So just kind of curious about, is there a common time frame?
Good question. Yep. Depending on the program, there are usually a middle, like a morning, a midday, and an evening class schedule, so that students can do exactly that. Let me see. I'm going to share my screen really quick. So this is MIAT specific. The UTI ones might have that midday, but you can see, right? So if students want to work during the day, they can take classes at night or vice versa. And again, it all kind of depends on the program and in availability within those. But Monday through Thursday, so weekends are off. We do have quarterly holidays and some summer and winter breaks, depending on when students' programs start and where they fall on the schedule. But most are kind of that Monday through Thursday with maybe a Friday or two a month, depending on where they're at. The other thing I should mention about the schedule, I try to highlight this to high school students where they're going, first hour math, second hour social studies, third hour, whatever. Our courses are 3 weeks on a subject, and they're only focusing on that subject for the entire time. So I'm going the wrong way here. Like our HVAC course, right? So it's going to be 3 weeks on the core basics, and then 3 weeks of refrigeration, so that students have a foundation and an understanding of that, right? Usually some sort of assessment at the end, but they're not kind of bouncing from subject to subject to subject, too, as well.
All right. Sounds good. Okay, anybody in the audience want to unmute and ask any questions? That's very comprehensive, so don't be offended if nobody asks
No
any
worries.
questions.
It's all that background of me teaching. I already know what the questions are going to be, so I put them in there.
Yeah, no, it's great. And so for counselors that might have a student, obviously you're the direct contact for Macomb County. What other areas do you service?
Good question. I'm in Macomb County and then parts of Wayne, some of the city of Detroit. We're kind of figuring that part out right now, just because the way that their technical education centers work is a little different with their schools. But yeah, so Wayne County, Grosse Pointe, Hamtramck, those areas within that county is where I'm at, and then mostly Macomb County too. So
Okay, and then moving forward to next year, because we're on the home stretch, they can invite you to come out to present to students.
Yeah.
Okay,
Would
awesome.
love to. I reach out to teachers myself. I'll reach out to you. Definitely want to get to your school for the college and career fairs. I think at a minimum it gives that work, and I'm hoping not just to present to like the career technical classes, but academic classes, any sort of like senior seminar classes that might be out there. Something that will capture attention because, like I mentioned, there's no experience necessary for any of these programs. And there might be students that are waitlisted to get into those, or credit recovery, or never signed up for them and didn't realize that, hey, potentially there could be a passion in something that we're providing too. So yeah, we'd love to stay in connection with you as we enter the summer, and then again in the fall. Opportunity to come out to your school and introduce myself.
Awesome. Well, thank you. If there's no other questions, if you wanted to share your PowerPoint with me, Rob, I can get it out.
Yeah.
And then I will follow up with you on the side. We do have some opportunities at the county level. I'd love to include.
Yeah.
You. So
Be awesome.
All right.
Cool.
Awesome.
Nice meeting you. I appreciate you listening here. Hope to put a face to the name soon.
Yeah. Awesome. Thanks, Rob. Have a great day, and we'll be in touch.
See you guys.
All right. Thank
you.
you.
All right.
All right, everybody. So that's a wrap. I'm going to give you your final password, which is engine, for this particular presentation. Again, it's engine. So you guys go ahead and write that down and get your passports filled out. And if you can scan them and email them over to me, and you put College Spotlight in the subject line. That'll help me sift through all the ones that are going to come flying in. And again, I will give you a confirmation that I've received it, and we will get those up to Michigan MDE and get that onto your MOEX account as quick as possible. I need them quick, so if you delay, I'm gonna just send everybody's up there. I'm not gonna kind of wait a few weeks. So it's just something that's super important. So unless you guys don't have any further questions, I want to wish you all a very wonderful summer, and look for my correspondence either at the end of the school year or starting next school year for what will be offered for the next series. So be well, everyone, and I will connect with you all soon. Thank you.
Sarah, can you hear me? I'm sorry, I missed the password.
Engine,
Okay.
because it was all about engines today.
Okay, that's it. Thank you.
You got it.
Bye.
Bye. Take care, everyone.